This is a topic I've actually had on my list to talk about for about 4 months now. It's one that comes up so often when couples tell me what's really stressing them out about wedding planning, and it's rarely about the flowers. Sometimes it's about the guest list, but it's nearly always about family dynamics, especially, in particular, around the mother of the bride or the mother of the groom. Before we go any further, though, I just want to say, if any of this discussion brings up uncomfortable feelings for you, whether you're planning a wedding right now or reflecting on past family experiences, please know you're not alone. You can always contact relationship support groups in your city for help and for professional help as well, because, of course, I'm not a professional in that arena. So please take care of yourself. Recently, that story about Brooklyn Beckham and his mum, Victoria Beckham, yes, Posh Spice from the Spice Girls, and one half of the famous Posh and Becks, hit the headlines and the internet just went wild. Brooklyn said in an interview that he and his now wife, Nicola, felt uncomfortable and embarrassed by some of his mum's behaviour at their wedding 3 years ago. And then, chaos. Thousands of comments, endless opinion threads, TikToks, radio debates, you name it. Everyone had something to say. Some people defended Victoria. She's just a mum who loves her son. Others rushed to Brooklyn and Nicola's side, saying it's their day, she needed to step back. And then came all the passionate middle voices trying to define what's acceptable, what's too much, and who was in the wrong. It wasn't just a gossip moment because, in my opinion, this tapped into something deeply familiar, because these sorts of tensions happen in regular families all the time, just without the never-ending memes. And it made me think maybe there's never been a better time to talk about why this topic hits people so freaking hard and how the expectations of mothers in weddings have shifted so far from what they used to be. Let's get stuck into it.
Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille, and welcome to the Unbridely podcast.
Okay, so why did everyone feel this so fucking strongly? I think the reason everyone reacted so passionately is because at some level, we've all seen or felt this story play out before. But there's also something very specific about this situation. It's not just any mum and it's not just any couple, it's the freaking Beckhams. There's the illusion and power of celebrity, the glossy public image, and the huge amounts of money involved, and all the commentary about narcissism and brand building that people project onto them. No one really knows the full story. Those things act like fuel on the fire. They make it easier for people to judge, to assume motives, and to turn a very human family situation into a kind of public morality play. Underneath all that, though, the core dynamic is one that we all know. It's a mum, it's a couple, it's a wedding, and it's a lot of emotion. Maybe you've seen a version of it, a well-meaning mum getting a bit too involved, or a couple feeling torn between gratitude and pure frustration. So hard, too hard, to feel included that it ends up having the opposite effect and driving a wedge between them. Weddings are like magnifying glasses. They intensify emotions that are already there. There's the pride, excitement, nostalgia, and even fear of change. And when you throw all these emotions into a situation where family roles are shifting and everyone's just trying to do their best, it's so easy for these feelings to get tangled. So when the Beckham story came out, Some people were talking about them, but most people weren't really talking about them. They were talking about us, our families, our old memories, our scars, our complicated relationships, our own definitions of what love is and what respect is. It's wild, isn't it, how one celebrity story can open up that whole conversation. One thing I have to lay down, though, there's a lot of he said, she said, who did the right thing, who didn't. But there is one very clear cut, and that is between healthy family dynamics and unhealthy control. So it's a very important distinction that I need to make early on, is this difference between healthy family dynamics and patterns that cross into narcissism, control, emotional abuse. Most of what we'll talk about today is the normal, everyday stuff, the well-meaning over-involvement, the generational gaps, the emotional intensity that comes with love and weddings. And we know that's all just part of being a human. But there is that line. Healthy involvement comes from a place of wanting to support and connect, even if sometimes it lands awkwardly. It should be flexible. It should be responsive to boundaries and respects the couple's autonomy. Unhealthy dynamics, whether narcissistic, controlling, or emotionally abusive, they look different. The intentions behind them are very different. They centre the parents' needs over the couple's, and they dismiss boundaries as disrespect, and they use guilt or manipulation to assert power and make the wedding feel like it's serving their image, their agenda, rather than the couple's joy. And of course, the celebrity spotlight, it amplifies this distinction because high-profile families often have the extra layers of the public image, wealth and influence, and this can blur the lines even more. So what to some might seem like mum just being mum might actually be about control, status, unresolved personal issues to someone else. Most families, though, are navigating the healthy but messy middle ground. And that's what I want to focus on today. The patterns that show up when everyone has good intentions, but imperfect communication. And I think that one of the massive drivers of this is the shift from hostess to supporter. Now, let me explain. For decades, mothers of the bride and mothers of the groom were told exactly what to do. The mother of the bride organised, hosted and paid for a large portion of the celebration. The mother of the groom, her job was to contribute when she was invited to smile graciously and not get too involved. But that version of wedding etiquette simply doesn't fit the weddings that we're having in this day and age. Now, couples today are older. They're often paying for their weddings themselves. They're choosing to have meaningful details instead of traditions. And they're trying to balance the two families, sometimes from very different backgrounds. We're much more multicultural than we were in the past, and trying to give them both equal consideration. And now the role of mother of the bride, mother of the groom, has evolved for so many cultures and countries around the world, from being the host to being the supporter. So instead of directing, she's maybe guiding a little. Instead of organising, she's encouraging from the sidelines. And it's this differentiation that becomes even more complex when, like here in Australia, there are first and second generation immigrant children trying to respect and be very grateful for the sacrifices that their parents and their grandparents made by bringing them to a safe country, while also trying to assert their needs and their values on their wedding day. And this is a balance that is almost impossible, at the very least super tricky to achieve. But there's yet another really important layer to this that often gets overlooked. So every mother brings her own memories, expectations, beliefs about weddings, and those are shaped by her generation's norms. So if you're a mother of the bride or groom now, in 2026, Your own wedding might have been 25, 30, maybe 40 years ago. And what was the done thing back then? Who fucking knows? But completely different. You know, who planned the day? Who paid for it? How were the guests seated? Who made the toasts? All of it reflected the social norms of that time. But those rules are completely outdated now and honestly irrelevant. So without even realising it, many mothers are remembering the wedding experience either they had or the one they wish they had, and accidentally, inadvertently trying to recreate or correct through their child's wedding. And the hardest part is that by the time a woman becomes a mother of the bride or a mother of the groom, she's already a full generation behind what's actually the norm now. Every mum is, almost by definition, operating from a slightly older playbook than the one their kids are using. It's not wrong. It's just a natural generational lag. Tradition takes time to catch up with reality. And when you're emotionally invested and you're trying to act with love, yeah, I'm sure you've all been in that situation. It's so easy just to default to what you know. A ridiculously simple example is myself and my daughter. I treated myself and my daughter to a manicure last week. I wanted beautiful nails for a very, very special wedding. And I wanted my daughter to have that experience. And we're talking about colours and things like that. And she goes, what colours do you think go with each other? And I went, what do you mean? And she said, well, I want a different colour on every nail. And I went, no. We're not having like gels or anything like that. We're just having like normal nail polish on our own nails. You have one colour. And she goes, I wanted to have fun. I wanted to have a different colour on every nail. And I thought, oh my God, that's so childish. And then I went, oh my God, she is a child. So my default thinking was for me that it would be ridiculous for me to go out and have different coloured nail polish on each nail because, I'm over 50. And my daughter's just going, I think it'd be fabulous. I think it'd be fun. Of course it is for her. I thought about it from my perspective immediately. There's totally nothing wrong with it. Have your nails as you will, absolutely. It's just something that I wouldn't wear, and that's fine too. But it's a default. Do you see how quickly it's a default that you're thinking, how does this apply to me? What do I think of, and how do I judge this particular thought, action, decision? But from a couple's perspective in the lead up to a wedding, those inherited expectations can sometimes feel very controlling, or at the very least out of sync with how modern weddings actually work now. That difference in generational perspective is often at the heart of so many misunderstandings, please believe me. And acknowledging that gap without blame can unlock a lot of empathy on both sides. If you had a sweary, chocolate-addicted, wine-sipping fairy godmother who could help you with your wedding planning, what would you wish for? Perhaps no more waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering what you've forgotten, or fretting about your RSVPs. Maybe no more spreadsheets or post-it notes or endless to-do lists. Well, I can help you with all of that. Websites is an Australian wedding website builder, guest management software, and wedding project planner all in one. Why is this such a game changer for you? Well, imagine everything to do with your wedding being in one place, updated in real time in the cloud, shareable to anyone else that's helping you, password protected for your guests, with notifications to tell you what needs to be done next and by when. It's amazing, right? I love how easy Websites is to set up and use, and how there are no ads on the platform yelling at you to spend more money on your wedding. To get started on your very own free wedding website, just head to wedsites.com. That's WEDSITES.com, and enter the code UNbridelyPod, that's Unbridely POD, to get 10% off their paid planning tools. The link is in the show notes. Behind almost every awkward family moment at a wedding, there's emotion. Weddings are huge emotional markers for parents. It's that feeling of pride, but also a touch of, oh my God, my baby's grown up. It brings up memories. It might bring up grief for people. So sometimes that emotion spills out as over-involvement or, flip side, complete withdrawal. Either way, it's coming from the same place. It's love mixed with vulnerability. And when couples can understand that, it's a lot easier to see past the surface behaviour to the heart of what's really going on. It's not usually about the colour of the napkins, the song choices. It's about connection and meaning. So let's talk for a sec about the financial side, because money expectations are another massive area where things have pretty much completely flipped. That old idea that the bride's family pays for everything is basically history now. For many, many cultures, modern weddings are financed in so many different ways, sometimes by the couple, sometimes by both sides of the family, sometimes it's shared between parents and the couple, depending on what feels fair and manageable and fits the family's circumstances. There's no longer a single correct way. The modern rule of money, who's financing this thing, is clarity. Talking early about money avoids a lot, almost all, of the awkwardness later, because tension usually builds in the unsaid, not the said. The gentlest approach now is to see financial contributions to a wedding as generosity, not leverage. Support, not control. And that mindset keeps relationships intact long after the last glass of bubbles is poured. Another area where expectations have softened is in event involvement. So once upon a time, mothers were automatically included in every pre-wedding event, like they had to be. The bridal shower, the shopping, the hosting. These days is much more about choice and comfort. Many couples still love having their parents involved in things like rehearsal dinners or the dress shopping trip, but others keep those moments smaller or more private. And both approaches are perfectly okay. What matters is the feeling behind the invitation. If it's offered with love, not obligation, everyone feels included, everyone can be relaxed. And if there's a limit set, like something along the lines of, we've got the planning handled, but we can't wait to celebrate with you on the day, that's a healthy boundary. That's not rejection. So in my opinion, the reason this topic struck such a nerve online is because we're all navigating this changing landscape together. Parents are learning how to show love in new ways, and couples are learning how to honour their parents without giving up their independence. And change like that always comes with growing pains. Like it's so completely normal. The beautiful part is that most families figure it out as they go, through some honest conversation, patience, bit of humour, which brings us right back to what we saw with the Beckhams, a very public reminder of what happens when communication, emotions, expectations, and yes, celebrity, money, image, all collide. It hit home for so many people because it reminded us all that not many of us have this fully figured out. So as we move through 2026, the expectations around the mother of the bride, the mother of the groom, they keep evolving. We've gone from hostess and planner to supporter and sounding board. And every family is finding its own rhythm between these two. The new etiquette is conversation. It's flexibility. It's respect for boundaries. It's a gentler version of tradition that actually fits with how families live now. And maybe, just maybe, if we can keep talking about it with empathy instead of judgment, we'll see fewer high-drama wedding moments and more genuine, connected celebrations. Because at the end of the day, that's what a wedding is supposed to be about, right? Love, growth, and families finding new ways to belong to each other. If this episode made you think of your own family wedding moments, the tender ones or the tricky ones, I'd honestly love to hear about them. You can message me over on Instagram at Unbridely, or share this episode with someone who's right in the middle of their own wedding planning to help them out, to make them feel less alone. And until next time, celebrate your people. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.